Hey, yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Smart TCG, and today I'm going to be going over how Buddy from Prismatic Evolutions changes some of the most powerful decks in the standard format. Buddy is one of the most influential cards we have seen in quite some time, and it's going to shake up the standard format quite a bit. And today I'm going to be going over some of the deck lists that I've been working on for the next format. So with that being said, if you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you're interested in any of these deck lists as well, you can go check out the description. They'll be all down there. All right, let's hop into it. Alrighty, so hopping into the first deck that gets majorly affected by Buddy is going to be Dragapult. Now, Dragapult was a deck that used to play heavy counts of Rare Candy and really focused around having those explosive turn 2s. Now, with access to the Buddy, you can actually take a couple turns off, slow them down with that item lock, and then start to develop your board. There's actually another reason as to why we have that Lance card that searches your deck for 3 dragon Pokemon and puts them into the hand. The main reason is that it is not an item card, so it's not affected by the Buddy's item lock. So this card becomes absolutely critical for this deck when you are playing up against opposing item lock decks. You'll be able to still set up your board state. You still also have that TM evolution as well. I know some lists in the past used to play this card occasionally, but now this is a card that I feel like is really, really good in this deck because it's just another way to evolve into your Dragaloaks when dealing with item lock. You still got your usuals. You got your 4 Arven. Arven is going to be the main tool of this deck to be able to set up your board state. 3 Iono, 1 Boss's Orders, 1 Crispin as well is quite nice, just being able to get energies onto the board a little bit more consistently. 1 Turo as well, and then the rest of the list as follows. Got 4 Buddy Poffin, 3 Ultra Ball, 2 Nest Ball, but now we only have 2 Rare Candy. Since this deck is going to be a little bit more slow and methodical, you don't play as many Rare Candies anymore and just focus around 2. We also got 2 Counter Catchers, still a very good card, as you can oftentimes easily manipulate the prize trade with things like your Dusclopses and your Dusknoirs, which is still really nice. 1 Earthen Vessel, 1 Night Stretcher, 1 Sparkling Crystal, 1 Forest Seal Stone, 1 Rescue Board, and then for the last tool card, we got the TM Evolution that I mentioned, and then Artisan and the 3/3 split of energy. So the trainer cards do adjust a little bit. I wanted to go over those, especially the Pokemon as follows: 4 Dreepy, 4 Dragaloak, 3 Dragapult EX. Not really a whole lot of major changes in the lines of cards except for the addition of the Buddy. So yeah, overall, I think Dragapult's still very, very powerful. One of the most powerful decks in the format, definitely going to start off as a tier 1 deck, in my opinion. We'll see plenty of play, but it really is the trainer cards in a lot of these decks that change. For example, things like 3 Lance, cutting down from 4 Rare Candy down to 2. Things have changed quite a bit. All right, let's move on to the next deck. Alrighty, next up here we have Gardevoir EX. Now, this is a deck that hasn't necessarily changed a whole lot, except it just adds in 1 Buddy. This is also a deck that really isn't heavily affected by item lock as well, as you have that Technical Machine evolution, and all you need is an Arven to get your board state set up. This is a deck that really, really wants to go second, so you can use that Arven turn 1, don't have to worry about item lock, and then get those Curlias on the board, really making it so that Buddy is not a threat to deal with. So this is the list here. Not really a whole lot has changed. Having access to Buddy is very nice to slow down some of those aggressive decks. Most importantly, Regidrago. Regidrago was a deck that Gardevoir oftentimes struggled against just because Regidrago could just run them over so quickly with early Phantom Dives, also the threat of Kyurem as well. So now that you have access to the Buddy, you only play 1. I don't think you need more than 1 in this deck, as this deck doesn't necessarily always rely on the Buddy to buy time, just because you can be actually relatively aggressive with the TM Evos, but you also have access to Heavy Ball too. But having access to the Buddy is really, really good in general, mainly versus that Regidrago matchup, as that matchup you can actually give yourself time. You can give yourself a turn or 2 to be able to establish your board state, get multiple Curlias on the board, get that Monkey Dory rolling, and you'll be off to the races. Also, another big thing as well is we do expect Regidrago to lose some percentage play rate in the format. Regidrago for the past couple of months has been one of, if not the most popular deck at tournaments, so that was always kind of a matchup that Gardevoir could struggle against, but now with the play rate going down, I do think that Gardevoir gets significantly better. All right, let's hop into a deck that really does get affected by the addition of Buddy and Prismatic Evolutions. Next up, we got Charizard. Alrighty, next up here, we have Charizard Pidgeot. Now, this is a deck that has seen substantial changes in how it is built. In the past formats, we have seen usually a 3 1-2 Charizard line, 3-1-3, 4-1-3, 4-1-2, plenty of different Charizard lines. However, seeing a 3-2-3 Charizard line is something that wasn't necessarily very popular, but with the threat of early game item lock, 3-2-3 seems like the standard now. 2-2 Pidgeot as well was pretty much a staple. Almost every Charizard list was playing that 2-2 split. Every competitive Charizard list that was seeing success really wasn't focusing around that Pidgeotto, but now with item lock, you really want to have that Pidgeotto on the deck. So 2-2-2 Pidgeot is, I think, a count that is going to start to be seen. 2-1-1 Dusknoir line as well. You don't really need to play 2 Dusclops, as the Dusknoir line isn't necessarily the focal point of the deck, and it's also a card that you typically want to use later on in the game anyways, when something like the Buddy is not going to be a main threat. 1 Radiant Charizard, 1 Fezandipiti, 1 Rotom, 1 Lumineon as well to round out the Pokemon. So the biggest changes are going to come in the Charizard and the Pidgeot line. The other big change as well is going to be the rare candy count. Going from 4 down to 3 is substantial. I feel like Charizard has, for so long, just had a 4 of count. Just feels, completely standard. But now going down to 3 because of the threat of the Buddy. And also the A-Spec becomes Grand Tree. One of the nice things about Charizard is it's a deck that really isn't heavily reliant on an A-Spec card. Multiple other decks in the format, for example, decks like Regidrago, have really relied on Prime Catcher to see success. Things like Raging Bolt as well heavily relied on Prime Catcher Dragapult as well, oftentimes relying on that Sparkling Crystal to be able to consistently attack in the early game. However, Charizard was kind of an outlier deck where it could play things like Unfair Stamp, Hero's Cape, Prime Catcher, and also something like Grand Tree. And now since Item Lock exists, being able to Grand Tree into a Pidgeot on that second turn of the game without needing a rare candy is absolutely huge. So that is really, really nice to have. Allows you to kind of get around that scary item lock. So yeah, this deck has definitely seen quite a bit of change. However, the changes feel okay. You're still able to get set up pretty consistently, and also since the format is slowing down, really focusing around more setup based decks, I do think that this deck gets significantly better. I know some people have been kind of writing it off, saying, oh, like Buddy's going to destroy it, but I actually think it gets pretty good in this format, especially if we do expect Regidrago, which was arguably Charizard's worst matchup to go up against, aside from things like Stall. That matchup was pretty tough, and since it was the most, popular deck, or one of the most popular decks, Charizard oftentimes struggled to see success, especially the past couple of months. But now, if Regidrago is going to lose, some popularity, then I think Charizard actually gets better in the metagame. So this is my list here for the Prismatic Evolutions format. I've been having fun with it. I think it's pretty good. And yeah, let's hop into the next one. Alrighty, next up here we have Ceruledge Palkia. Now, Ceruledge is a deck that has actually been performing relatively well in Japan, and I think it has a lot of potential, especially with the addition of the Buddy. Buddy creates a situation where you can item lock your opponent on the first turn, slow them down, and then you can start to initiate that 2 prize card trade with that Ceruledge or Palkia. So when you're playing up against potentially a turbo deck and you go second, you can use the Buddy to item lock them out of using things like Pokemon Catcher or Prime Catcher to knock out one of your 2 prizers, and they just have to hit into the 1 prize Buddy, and then you can go into Ceruledge or Palkia and start that 2-2-2 prize trade, which is really, really nice. You're able to buy yourself a little bit of time, and then you can start to swing in a potentially favorable prize trade. So that's one of the really nice things with this deck. Adds a little bit more of depth and things that your opponent has to play around. People have also been playing that Monkey Dory as well. Monkey Dory is really, really strong in this deck, especially with decks like Dragapult seeing so much success. Gardevoir as well, 2 decks that like to fling damage onto your side of the field. Being able to shoot that right back at them is really, really nice. So yeah, this is going to be the Ceruledge deck I have built. I took some inspiration from some of the lists that have been placing well in Japan, so shout out to them. But yeah, this is going to be my list. So anyways, that is going to do it for some of the deck lists that I have been working on for the Prismatic Evolutions format. Buddy does cause quite a few changes, and I wanted to go over what some decks might look like moving forward. But with that being said, if you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see more videos, make sure to hit that notification bell so you know when my videos go live. But anyways, thanks for all the support as always. I appreciate it. This is Smart TCG, and I'll speak with you guys again soon. Peace out.